Good evening, zombie fans. May the 4th be with you. It's a very fine Star Wars day. Greg and I had a great time earlier with Jeff and a number of our other nerdy compatriots here on Google Plus talking Star Wars. And so as a result of needing to kind of tie together those two nerdy pursuits, I'm going to ask your indulgence for a minute while we discuss two pressing zombie-related Star Wars questions. The first of which I'll throw over to our first guest, Lance Fields, out of New Orleans. How do you feel about the lightsaber as a zombie weapon?
If having a lightsaber includes me being able to utilize the Force effectively, I'm perfectly fine with it. However, if there's the learning curve of just me and a lightsaber, I'd be an apocalypse of one, probably. So it would be really, really sweet weapon though.
It really would.
Slice through them. Done.
An elegant weapon for an elegant age.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed. And over to our other guest, Jeff Sieh. How do you feel about lightsabers as zombie weapons?
Well, we mentioned this in the green room, but there's no nicking yourself with the lightsaber. Pretty much, you lose a limb. So I would not be. I mean, it sounds cool, and I think it'd be. I mean, I like to hold one, but I would be so scared because I would, go scratch my nose and take off an ear or something. So I would not be a good candidate for a lightsaber. It wouldn't work.
Yes, I tend to agree. And the other question I had was, how do you think, or what do you think would happen if a zombie bit a Jedi? Lance.
I think, let's say we have a full board Jedi, and a zombie is able to bite them. Wow, I think that we would be in a world of hurt, because then that makes me question the whole Jedi thing. If zombies can bite a Jedi, we are in for a serious bug out here.
Jeff, what do you think?
I don't think that if a Jedi is worth its salt, unless it's like Anakin when he was a little boy or something. But I think you'd force push him away, that they wouldn't have a chance to bite you. But if I don't know if they snuck up your sleeve. I'm with Lance. I think that's just bend over and kiss your rear goodbye, because it's over if there's Jedi zombies. Now, would they have the mental capacity to wield any of the Force abilities? I doubt it. But still, they don't
unintentionally, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah, and they would, if they could figure out the lightsaber thing. Maybe they don't worry about losing limbs, and so they might go through out there.
That's true. That's true.
Well, I think a Jedi could definitely become overwhelmed. I mean, if we look at World War Z and he's facing that many zombies, a Jedi can only force push so much. And in an area, depending on how powerful they are, I mean, if we're talking about like Darth Vader level, he might be able to force lightning all around him and just fry their brains and not really have a problem, or the Emperor. But if we're talking about just your standard regular Jedi Knight, I don't think they're going to last that long.
Well, you might.
No, I'm gonna jump in there. Let's see. So they can blow walls out. They can soar up into the air. There's all kinds of things. Now are they trapped in a giant cement box that's 3 meters thick on all sides, or are they in an open space? Are they just in a room? They could. There's a lot of things other than engaging the zombies, which actually would be my ideal. Is the less engagement that I can have with them directly is the ideal situation. So let's say that there I am, and open the wall or the ceiling or whatever it is, and are we talking World War Z zombies, or are we talking the kind of zombies that are just going slow and not moving too fast?
Well, those zombies, if really, I mean, anybody should be able to get away from that. You should be able to take a nap and still get away, and drunk crawl away from those kind of zombies. No, we're talking to the World War Z zombies, where it's like 1 million zombies on top of you.
Yeah.
That's wrong on so many levels, Greg.
Oh, goodness. Well, Greg, why don't you take us into tonight's zombie defense topic?
All right. Well, I think we're talking skills tonight, and what kind of skills would actually be most useful in the event of really any kind of apocalypse, but more geared towards zombie apocalypse. And we're going to go with Walking Dead style zombies that actually eat deer and squirrel and everything else out around, so that way you do have the competition of food. Because I think that brings a little bit more of a survival aspect into it. When you know that when meat isn't going to be plentiful, maybe the most plentiful meat you could get is fish if you're near a water source that has enough and safe enough.
Right.
So with that, I guess one of my first questions would be, what is actually the most important skill, do you believe? And I don't want like necessarily a generalization of a skill. Like, of course, survival skills would be amazing, but what survival skills? Is it basically camping, foraging? And I know a lot of these fall in the category together, but what is, I guess, what is your priority? Is it survival or fighting?
Well, I want to survive so I can fight another day. I guess my biggest thing, I think, from the survival shows I've watched is the ability to make fire. I mean, if you want to get specific, because one, I mean, you can warm, you can cook over it, stuff, but they even say that there's such a big psychological benefit to having a fire to just sit around, and that's your base camp, and you don't want to make a big smoky fire or all the zombies will come. But I guess that would, if there was one skill that I could pick out of all of them, it would probably be to make fire.
That's a really good skill to have almost in any kind of situation, and a lot of people really should just learn how to make a fire anyways, even without a zombie apocalypse going on. That's just really important. And make a real fire, not pull a lighter out of your pocket. And I burned some paper.
That kind of fire.
Wait a second, are the zombies gonna confiscate all the matches and the lighters from us too? Those bastards?
Well, I would imagine after about the first year that lighters would become really scarce real quickly.
I need to work off a percentage. So what percentage of the population are we saying has not been turned into a zombie yet for this discussion, would you say?
Good question, because the answers, of course, may vary, I guess, based on whether we're early in the zombie apocalypse and we have abundant people and people are still turning on a regular basis versus later in the zombie apocalypse when you've got a fairly small number of people, but they're all really savvy and unlikely to turn.
Right. Well, even in the beginning, I think that there will be a lot of people ransacking stores and grabbing supplies that are going to be useful. And I think a lot of people, just because if we go with our reality today, we all understand zombie lore. A lot of it's very big in our culture today. We a lot of people understand what a zombie is and how it would react and kind of the things that you would need in order to survive. So those are going to be really hot ticket items when people are just running through the store and grabbing everything they can and booking it, trying to get out of there. So I think a lot of things like lighters and those kinds of things won't be available for very long. And if you do come across a store that does have some, how many times are you going to get to use it before it's out?
Right. So Lance, for the sake of your question, let's go ahead and say that we're in the mid to late part of the zombie apocalypse, where we've narrowed it down a good bit and there aren't as many people turning as fast, but...
So kind of like where Walking Dead is now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slowed down, but not necessarily at a at a late stage, barely anybody left kind of era.
Well, they're eating dog foods out of cans right now, so I think the ability to find a can opener.
Standard hurricane
Yeah.
survival kit is having a non-electric one, obviously.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, every year. So I kind of have a head start, and I guess you being in Florida too. Every year when hurricane season starts, there are multiple postings about, do you have your hurricane kit ready, batteries, first aid kit, can opener, among them flashlights, etc. So pretty much every year that I've had to prepare for hurricane season, I'm already preparing to survive X number of days without electricity. I mean, granted, there's not people turning into zombies and running, in the storm, so that's a thing.
Wait, that doesn't happen over there? That happens whenever we have a thunderstorm here in Florida.
No, what happens is everybody thunders over to the bars to wait out the storm. Not me, I don't drink, but it's a big thing, a hurricane party. So, yeah, and I saw somebody mentioned in the comments about knowing how to make alcohol was top on their list. Survival skills. I think it was the main list. So.
Yes.
Oh,
there it is. Yeah.
I agree. That's a good one. And yes, hello, Mia.
Yep.
And welcome to everybody in the audience. Welcome to Dustin Stout. He just got here, and Wayne Nix is here. Cheryl Deuce, as always. Jen Smith, great to see our core zombie defense squad filing in. Ryan Miner did a great job last week on the show. And Sarah Lamoth. Great to see everybody here tonight. So, when Lance, what would be your survival?
I'm going to go and stick with the element too, and that's being able to have access to fresh water.
Yes.
And either knowing how to purify it or having some means to do so. I suspect for a certain amount of time that as much bottled water as there is in this country, that at least stumbling onto that, but also knowing how to clean it. If you're hanging out in the middle of the Everglades, you want to be able to clean the water. So having a clean water source, I think, is paramount because, well, it's going to be 95 degrees in the Everglades, and you're going to be thirsty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And knowing the right way to identify and purify those sources is definitely a key piece of that.
Yeah.
Now, Mia brought up medical skills, which she is absolutely spot on with that. In fact, I would argue in The Walking Dead there were points when there was pretty much no one more indispensable than Herschel, who, despite just being a vet, had more medical skills than all the rest of them put together. At that point in time, except maybe Carol, who was coming along, I think. But still, it's essential to have someone around who really understands what to do with, at the very least, basic first aid, but hopefully considerably more than that, too, because you never know what you're going to run into.
true.
True story. Yeah, absolutely. And I think about it, I auditioned for a show called The Colony. Are any of you familiar with that? It was on the Discovery Channel for, I don't know if it's still on, but I auditioned. I made it into the second round and didn't actually get on the show, but they were asking me, like, what kind of skills do you have? What would, how can you live for it was a 10 or 12 week time frame that you're basically locked in a compound with 6 or 8 other people, and I didn't match the skill set that they were trying to balance, and so they had a carpenter, a doctor, engineer, different very, very niche skill set people, and I was like, well, that would be really convenient if during the apocalypse I get to choose the people that don't get bitten that have all these amazing skill sets. And I was thinking, well, I guess you kind of can. I mean, you find the people and you come across them, and just whoever's left, there's going to be a wide variety of people. And I think the people with the lower skill sets, quite frankly, and this might sound terrible, but it's what's going to happen, is they're going to get chomped first. So the people who have the innate skill sets or the learned skill sets are going to last longer anyway, so you're going to end up with those people.
So
Right.
online marketers probably won't do very well.
Is that where social media would take a turn?
I think it's pretty ineffective to market to a zombie. I don't think I could get them to go after the tree instead of me.
So followers would be, you'd want no followers, because if you have them, that means the zombies are alive.
Zombie apocalypse. I now have 50,000 followers. Oh, why couldn't this happen 3 years earlier?
Yeah. Oh crap, followers. Well, that's
the zombies will be walking around with their cell phones, just holding it up, trying to do what they were doing before they got bit.
Oh my goodness, we need to make a zombie social network.
Well, I mean, you've seen that image, right? Where it's a graphic of zombies that basically says, "You're worried about a zombie apocalypse? Take away a teenager's cell phone," something along those lines.
That's true.
Or something along those lines. We're already creating our own zombies. Anyway, so as you're building a zombie defense team, assuming that you manage to find other people that you're willing to cooperate with and that are willing to cooperate with you, how would you try to build it if you had your pick, of course, in terms of people with native fighting skills, like police officers or military people, things like that? How many of them would you want to have versus how many other people with other sets of skills?
Well, I'm gonna hop in. I'm gonna say first, I guess it would depend on where I landed and who with. Ideally, the location is gonna play into how defensive do we need to be. Can it be a structural defense, and can we just utilize that more so than an actual hand-to-hand kind of situation, other than when you're out foraging? So fighting skills to a point. I think pretty much in a zombie apocalypse, people are going to learn really quickly how to respond. You're going to be on such an adrenaline high all the time anyway that your reflexes naturally are gonna kick in. So I think anybody who is a functional non-zombie at that point will have some benefit, and it's just figuring out whatever their particular strengths are. I mean, maybe it was a soccer player, so they have good kicking skill. I mean, whatever it is, you just go and look for whatever the strengths are. So that's where I am.
And it's true that you probably have to assume that at a certain point in the zombie apocalypse, especially a mid to late stage like we're talking about, most of the people who are even still around to be found are going to be at least halfway decent fighters.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you, in my opinion, you really only want a couple of fighters, and the reason for that is more against other people to protect yourselves in the event of an attack from somebody that can actually think. Anybody can learn how to kill a zombie. I mean, it just takes stomaching it. I mean, it's pretty gross. It's falling apart and everything, and it probably smells pretty bad. But other than that, anybody can stab a zombie in there.
I'm sitting here thinking, Greg has fought zombies before. What? What's going on? This is first-hand knowledge. Is there a zombie farm in Orlando or I don't know about?
No, not quite.
Well,
that's an idea, though.
My thing is how big do you let your group go? I mean, if you said a couple fighters, because my thinking would be, if you're not hunkering down somewhere, that you want to be a pretty mobile group that you can bug out quick. And so having maybe one or two fighters, or everybody knows how to fight by this term, I think you would want to have people that can cover multiple skill sets. But still, I think it's smarter sometimes to run than to fight. I think fighting would be your last if you're bottlenecked somewhere. But it's kind of interesting when does it become too big? When does your group become unmanageable and unsafe? Like we kind of learned in The Walking Dead, it almost got too big, and then that's when it started falling apart.
That's true. That's true. It seems like most of the most of the locations that they wound up staying in The Walking Dead wound up becoming unmanageable for exactly that reason, because the groups would spiral out of control, and then whatever happened with the, with why things fell apart, whether it was internal or external, it just all fell apart and went crazy. And most people died, and the group kind of self-selected down to a very small-knit contingent again. So, no, you're absolutely right, I think.
And then what happens when, let's say, we're, just for the sake of this example, the four of us, our group, and we're going to wherever we're going, and we come across another group of non-zombie people who are trying to hunker down, and of course they're nervous and thinking, what happens? Are they going to steal my stuff, and are we going to do theirs? Are we all really nice people and just going to say, oh, great, good day, zombie-free over here, and keep going? So that's another variable as far as what Jeff was saying is avoiding conflict as much as possible, reducing your risk of injury on all fronts, whether it's fighting with other non-undead people or humans, or having to deal with the zombies. I was thinking about in the movie Aliens, the little girl who lived in the air ducts for all that time. And there's something to be said for hunkering down and kind of hiding it out and getting a feel for what's going on around, and really determining. I like the idea of not necessarily being in an urban setting because there's so many places to hide.
Right.
Out a little bit, and maybe skirting around to do your collection, again, geographically, depending on where you are. So in New Orleans case, to get out of New Orleans, I have to cross water. There's no ways around it, and I think the easiest way to do that would be just to go down blocks from the rivers, just go down to the river and hop in a boat and try to get somewhere rather than trying to cross over land. I never really understood why people didn't get in a boat and at least get off land for a while, regroup, rest, knowing that they couldn't get chomped for a while anyway.
Right. Yeah. And speak a little bit more to the New Orleans situation, because from what you're saying, it sounds like from what you were saying in the green room, it sounds like it's possible that New Orleans might actually be an origin point for a zombie apocalypse.
Isn't that an exciting notion?
Yes.
So, as everybody knows, in their zombie lore, and we kind of tend to forget that zombies started with voodoo, and New Orleans has a very active, albeit smaller, group of voodoo practitioners. I don't think they go around turning people into zombies, at least I hope not. But it's an interesting switch, how thinking about a voodoo priest or priestess turning people into zombies, which are not the same genre of zombie that we're seeing with Walking Dead or 28 Days Later, or in any zombie one, help me. The one with there was a video game. I'm stuck.
Oh, Resident Evil.
Resident Evil sort of thing, where it's some sort of airborne transmission.
Right. Yeah.
Because voodoo zombies, if this was a point of origin and it was voodoo that started the zombie apocalypse, the voodoo zombies just tend to be lumbering dolts who don't really do anything but scare people. So.
So we'd probably be okay. Well.
Yeah, unless that's what started it. Maybe maybe they came up with some. They figured out whatever the mixture is that they would blow in people's faces to zombify them. If it turned out to have some sort of bacterial or viral aspect to it. Yeah, because I'm thinking how fast that would have a lot to do with our ability to prepare. Because how fast would it be moving? Is it moving voodoo speed, zombie, or transmission, or viral speed? So those two things, people in upstate New York, if it started here in New Orleans, they would have a lot of time to panic and get everything together versus somebody in East Texas. So time, the notification of it would be interesting, and that none of us would be. Is it? And you see it in the TVs or the movies. They always, oh, that's not really anything until they see the zombies running down the street chomping on everybody, and then they're like, oh. Freak out! Ah, get everything, go! And then they get all this stuff, which they end up dropping. Anyway, I would just get the minimal amount of stuff and travel lightly. I think traveling lightly in the beginning is paramount to being able to continue traveling further along.
What about you, Jeff? What are the geographic challenges or benefits of your area?
I'm in East Texas, so I've got actually a well. I'd probably do the hunker down thing because I have a well on my property, and I've got abundant food around, and everybody in Texas has guns, so pretty much fighting them off. My thing would probably be trying to figure out what skills do I need to find somebody to complement. I can. I don't know what I'd do. I'd make them a web page or something, but. I think I would try to find the guy who could make toilet paper because you want to be friends with him because they never talk about it.
That is something you never think about.
Never talk about that.
Crap scared out of you.
And so there, that's going to be, everyone else will be getting matches and stuff, and I'm going to get the toilet paper. So
that's a genius idea. Your place will become the place to be. You could probably make a new currency out of toilet paper at a later stage, right?
It sounds funny, but that's probably true. That there's going to be stuff like that will be currency because everything else will be worthless. But if you know how to do something, or once the ammo's gone, that's why I think the crossbow thing is so huge.
Yeah.
And in fact, because of Walking Dead, crossbow sales have shot up in the United States. It's pretty funny.
I believe it.
Everybody wants to be Daryl, but and so my area, I'd probably, the thing that scares me the most. I don't know if you remember that scene in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise when they're going and they have the car and everybody else wants the car.
Yeah.
That's horrifying because he even had a gun, and that didn't matter. I mean, you could only shoot so many people, and that mob mentality, and so that's why I'm kind of with Lance is travel light, be mobile. You may have to leave your base quickly and don't come too attached to something. So, I guess that's kind of where I land.
That's a good one, and yeah, I love. I think hunkering down can be a good option if you have the right strategic setup. You have to have a place that you can defend and that has desirable opportunities like a well.
Right.
Not every place will, so being in a place that has something that will have an ongoing access to a desirable
but yeah,
like that is
but I don't think you can be too tied to it because look what happened at the prison. They were pretty comfortable there, and there's always somebody who can be bigger or have a tank,
Yes.
that can take what you have. So you need to be able to assess the situation, decide if it's worth fighting for, or I'm going to bug out, and have all that stuff prepared to bug out with.
Good plan. Good plan. Greg, you want to chime in here with anything?
Well, I was just thinking that it's about time to wind it down. So really just wanted to be able to give our guests the final word. And before we get on to that, I just wanted to remind everybody that all these skills that we've mentioned, they're all great skills to have anyways. First aid, survival skills, foraging, being able to tell good berries from bad berries, starting your own fire, like all of this is really, really even just basic level stuff. You can look some of this stuff up on the internet and learn how to do it. I mean, that's kind of ironic. Learn how to learn some survival skills off the internet, but I mean, you really can, and especially first aid. You really should know that in the event of any kind of apocalypse, your value just skyrockets knowing first aid. So with that, just want to go down the panel the way that I see it, and that starts with Jeff.
All right. What do I need to do? Just wrap it up?
Yep. Just
final piece of advice.
Don't get bit by a zombie. Don't do it. I don't care if you're a Jedi or whatever you are. Don't do it. Stay away from them suckers. They're mean.
It's a great
Words of wisdom, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
You can quote me on that. So,
Lance, go ahead and top that.
Okay, double tap. So, let's see. Oh, I remembered. So, yesterday, Kristin Drysdale and Cheryl Deuce were asking me to join their zombie team in the event of the zombie happening. And so I told them both that I would announce whether or not I would be on their zombie team after today's show, and I had some time to think about it because that's a pretty big commitment, you know.
Sure, yeah, it's a big decision.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's like, okay, yes, I'll do it. So there it is. I know I was trying to think of something cheeky and fun to say, but it eluded me completely. I think I'm zombieing out here. So it's happening. Carolyn, this is point of origin. Get out of here, everyone, run!
I know it gets intense, but we got to keep doing these thought experiments so that we're all prepared should the day ever arrive. We will be better prepared than most, and hopefully they will, on whatever future access to YouTube they have during a zombie apocalypse, maybe people will look back at this and get the survival skills that they need from our broadcasts, right? the historical documents, Galaxy Quest style, All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up actually more or less on time tonight. Amazing, right? And I want to thank our guests very much, Jeff and Lance. Great to have you both on. I hope you'll come back and join us again soon sometime. And, well, once again, happy May the 4th to everybody. And have a great Sunday night, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.